Hi. Hello. My name is Dr. Ingrid Montgomery. I am the Modern MD. I'm not quite sure if you have logged on or if you can hear me. If you want to leave a comment, this is the very first time that I'm using live, and I'm pretty excited. So today is May 1st. Oh, I see something going up, so thank you. Also, it means that you can hear me. So welcome. I am super excited. Today is May 1st, the beginning of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And again, my name is Dr. Ingrid Montgomery. I'm a board certified psychiatrist here in the state of New York. I'm affiliated with the company Youthscape Rejuvenation, and I own my own private practice where we focus on physical and mental wellness. I am, again, a board certified psychiatrist. I see adolescents from the age of 14 all the way up to those individuals who are of aging age or mature age of 65 plus. So I wanted to do this live because we all are in the throes of this pandemic, and there's a ton of questions. And first, I would like to thank each and every person who has submitted a request or a reply to any of the postings that I've listed with your interest of specific topics. And there was quite a few, and I'm so happy. I don't want to look down, but I am going to read some of them. It went from sleep problems to relationship problems. Specifically, what are we doing and how are we handling our mentation through this COVID-19? We also had someone to want to talk about how to be a caregiver for those who have dementia, and also a caregiver when you yourself are struggling with depression. We have on the rise not only substance abuse. No one really posed that question, but I know for New York State, one of the essential businesses that has remained open throughout this pandemic are the liquor and wine stores. So I know quite a few of my friends could not join me tonight because they are doing their virtual wine tasting and their ladies' night, and kudos to those individuals. But I want to express my gratitude for those who are joining me right now and taking the time out just to learn a little bit more about yourself and to understand that I am here and I'm going to be here throughout the month of May and ongoing to educate and raise awareness about mental and physical wellness. So now let me go back to the substance abuse issue. That would be a topic that we would definitely explore, because as the pandemic has allowed people to maintain their, to be isolated from individuals, or maybe they do have substance abuse issues, whatever the issues are during this time, they're going to worsen, unfortunately. We also have on the rise domestic abuse, as well as child abuse. Just got a notification today that here in New York State, the schools are not going to be back in session for the fall, so the kids will just kind of still be at home with the parents. And I know that some parents are kind of wanting or needing a break. So we're going to talk about ways of getting a break from the stresses of what is happening to us right now, the stresses of just day-to-day in and out of things that may be bothering us, that we obviously, need to take a look at. I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little closer. I got about 5 people, so great, cool. So other people wanted to talk about revenge and anger, which is a big one, because being isolated and being apart from families and still having to go to work under these very extreme, extraordinary conditions will indeed cause one to want to be angry or to lash out in ways that are unhealthy. Adolescent health, and a lot of times we don't consider our teens, but what is normal in development for teens is socialization. We've completely wiped that out right now. So the teenagers are not socializing, they're trying to do it virtually, but what is in healthy socialization is having that human contact. So adolescent wellness is another part that I really and truly want to engage my young adults and my adolescents during this time, so that they will have these coping skills and be able to move forward and develop into mature adults. Now with the pandemic, I have to say I have my own opinions, and the information that we do talk about here is going to be evidence-based medicine, but also I'm going to share with you things that I personally have used for myself and that I share with my clients None of what I'm saying here is for anyone to take as medical advice, but it's just an educational platform. And so I invite the questions and I invite the topics again, and the information that you're going to receive is to be used for educational reasons, and to not take it as, advice or something that I'm telling you that you should do without consulting first with your doctor if you have certain limitations. Another thing that we're going to address that people really and truly want to talk about is the obvious: job loss and economic, decline, which has affected every single person, regardless of if you are getting a stimulus check or you have been successful in reaching someone in the unemployment hotline. People are struggling still, and this thing is going to impact us for we don't know how long. So these are things that we definitely going to talk about. Eating disorder that came up today, and I know that since we are in the house and we have more time, eating disorders can come into play. But at the core of an eating disorder, it's just not about the food, but it's about a reach of control. So someone actually contacted me today and said, I would like to know a little bit more about eating disorder because I am suffering with an eating disorder, and that can go from one restricting food to the other end of the spectrum, where one is binge eating or having these comfort foods or eating just to feel better, and then you're purging, meaning that you're making yourself vomit because you want the body to stay a certain way, or you want to not to gain weight. So I do want to take questions and see if... Great, Adrian, you made it. Yeah. So if you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I do want to go over things. Let me just give a few statistics just to get this out of the way. About 22% or over a third of individuals are affected by emotional or mental illness. Half of America, even more than half, people don't know how to get help. A lot of times they go to their primary care doctors. By the time that anyone reaches me, it's to the point where they have tapped out of all of the other resources. Either they've been started on medications with the pediatrician, or started on medications with their primary care doctor, or just don't know what to do. You've gone to a therapist, and then they say, okay, maybe you need to see a psychiatrist for medication, and you come to me, and then we talk about different medications that may help. Well, today I don't want to get into different medications so much, but other ways of coping, such as utilizing exercise. And I know you're saying, okay, how can we exercise? All of the gyms are closed. Well, counting steps. We all have these Fitbits and these different devices. Any type of movement helps the mind. I have clients who call me and they're like, I've been in bed, I can't move out of bed. The bed is the devil. Get out the bed. You cannot stay in the bed. It is so hard to conceptualize and to be organized when you're under such constraints that it's very difficult to say, okay, I need to explore every single inch of my home today if I cannot go out. You can go out for air. Some people are living in buildings where, the density is there and people are sick around you. So I would say that to use precaution when you're going out, especially if you're in New York City. You don't want to go out around other people without having the proper mask, but you can at least open the window, allow the vitamin D to come in, take advantage of sunlight that comes in. That increases the mood. It increases the serotonin levels, and it definitely will make you feel better. As far as our diet, again, let's touch on that, because again, the grocery stores are open, the kids are out of school, they want food. Some of us still have to go to work, come home, and still balance that. But we have to be very cautious of what we are putting in our bodies, and that we're limiting alcohol, we're limiting wine consumption, and we're drinking a lot of water, because that keeps the metabolism going. We want to also introduce and make sure, and I know with the COVID, people are like, oh my God, I don't want to eat fresh fruits and vegetables because what if it has the virus on it? Well, I want to say exercise common sense. You do have to wash your vegetables off, wash your fruits off, but you really, truly need to continue to eat properly. Even if you have been like a person who loves to eat hamburgers and you're a fast food person, now is the time, if no other time, to increase your immunity against the virus, to increase your chances of not developing hypertension and diabetes and those things, and to increase your mood, to try to change the way that you eat. It is so important. and watching the things that you consume as far as your fluids and those type of things. So diet, number one, because we're really focused on our intake because we have not much else to do. Reducing TV time. There should be structure throughout the day. And early morning, you should still set your alarm clocks to get up at a timely manner. Do some meditation, and throughout the month, we're going to go through meditative exercises and go through yoga, and we're going to introduce music and all of these things and how you can properly use these techniques to help yourself. To make a schedule in the morning, starting in the morning, getting up at the same time. If there's kids in the house, making sure that they also are getting up with you. Having a breakfast, a light breakfast, going into homeschooling with the kids. There's a question there. What are the short-term and long-term effects of how the quarantine is affecting us? So that's basically what I'm talking about now. The short-term effects is that you're going to have acute anxiety. What I'm describing now, setting a routine, putting organization in your life, reduces that acute shock of anxiety. So trying to create a normal routine and normalcy out of something that is abnormal is difficult, but it is possible, and it is a necessity to do those things. So some people have to go out to work. So they have a regimen in place. But for those who are working from home and they're doing homeschooling, they're in the home, you have to still create those boundaries and that flow of things. So the acute effects is that you have this shock of anxiety of, I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know. We don't know. But we do have some information. Some stuff is kind of contraindicated, or it's going back and forth. And unfortunately, our leadership is not as strong as being able to convey the information as it is needed. So we have to depend on each other and know that you are not alone in this. So short term, again, being isolated increases anxiety. Being isolated increases depression. Being isolated increases you to become obese. It decreases your motivation. And one thing that propels a person is to have the motivation to continue on. A lot of people, and we have recently heard of a physician that actually took her life due to the stress of seeing people dying and hearing about death. And so when that happens, I'm going to move to the second part of the question. The long-term effects of this could be that a lot of people will suffer from PTSD because it's re-traumatization of seeing the repeated deaths or hearing of them, or even knowing people that are close to you that have unfortunately been adversely affected by the virus. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we can call it post-quarantine stress disorder or post-corona stress disorder. It is going to be a real diagnosable ailment in the near future. I definitely see it coming, but it will be treated as anxiety because PTSD is a specific type of anxiety. So the short and the long is under one umbrella of anxiety, and anxiety looks very different to each person. Anxiety can look like an eating disorder. Anxiety could look like a person being isolated or a panic attack. It can look like excessive eating. It can look like restrictive eating. It can look differently to different people. So knowing that if you are not in tune with yourself and things are different in your life where you're not functioning, for instance, say that you typically speak to a family member every day or every week, and you notice that you have not wanted to have that interaction with that individual, or say that it's your spouse or your partner. Maybe your libido has changed, or you don't have that same desire to be around the people within your house, or you have these sparks of anger. That's a change in the way that you are, and it can cause dysfunction. So that can also be displayed as an underlying anxiety. Also, we will see depression in kids as irritability. It's not just your sad mood, but in kids and adolescents, they have these mood swings and irritability that really is underlying depression. So understanding the symptoms and being in touch with a healthcare professional will definitely help you through. So just talking about the symptoms of the short term and long term of the quarantine are the anxiety and depression. Those are the heavy hitters. But also socialization and trying to acclimate yourself to different platforms, such as what I'm doing. I have never been on Facebook Live. I've never done anything on this platform. I recently signed up for Facebook. I am really not one to be on social media, but this is the way to communicate. I had my gardener to come over earlier, and he had to stand outside of my window, and we had to communicate through a window. And that is not normal, but it could be a norm for a temporary time. So we have to kind of be flexible and acclimate ourselves to this. Can you talk about the rise in domestic violence? So the rise in domestic violence is occurring, and it's unfortunate because, again, we are out of our natural element. A lot of people who have been with each other for years, or say that those who have been in domestic violent relationships, they have these outlets to go to work, or they have outlets to be around other people that are support to them. So once that support system outside of that relationship is broken apart, and that victim or that person who is susceptible to the domestic abuse is not able to reach that support or that lifeline, then the anger, the irritability, all of those things that we're talking about festers up, and it displays itself as verbal, not only physical, but domestic abuse can be verbal as well, emotional, and it can become physical. So there's definitely been a rise because people are closed up together. So if you take ourselves as humans and you look at an animal, we're not animals, but genetically the makeup. Okay, so you take an animal that is used to being in a very fixed system, and you allow this animal now to have to go into a system that's an open system where there's not many boundaries, there's no structure there. They're not going to know what to do or where to go, and they're going to just have that energy bottled up in them. And some people don't understand, and they don't know how to help in a healthy way to connect to others and also to reduce that. So domestic abuse is on the rise for those particular reasons. One, because people are being forced to be conjoined with people in which they don't spend more than, sleeping hours with, or they are not able to get to their lifelines or their support systems on the outside because they are isolated and they're quarantined and they don't have these healthy outlets. So it goes in both ways. So it's also sharing of physical space, sharing of emotional space, and just the lack of communication. Domestic violence at the core of it is an individual issue in which a person, either they have experienced the domestic violence or some type of abuse as a child, in which this is the way that they express how they're feeling to their partner because the partner is the one that's closest to them. The victim, on the other hand, has some codependency attributes, or they feel that they are dependent on this abuser for some reason. So in this pandemic of COVID-19, we all have vulnerabilities, and even the strongest of us, and that's including myself, have found that certain strong points of mine have become a little weakened, and I've become a little more vulnerable just because of the stress, the outside stress of not knowing what is happening. So that's one of the reasons why domestic abuse is actually on the rise. I'm going to try to look and see if I have another one. Is it a bad idea to start a new relationship right now? That's a great question. I would say at this time, I don't know, geographical things are differently, okay? Here in New York, I'm going to speak for New Yorkers. We are still in the house. For myself, we are still under a pause. Businesses are not open. The numbers of the virus are very high. So I would say, depending on your own personal situation where you are located geographically, starting a new relationship means that you don't know the person. That's what new means. It is new. So starting something new under abnormal circumstances may not be the best idea, unless it is something that you know for yourself that is healthy, in which you are going to improve your immunity against a disease, your health, which is mental, physical, or your spirituality. But co-joining with another person during this time, a new person that you don't know, under abnormal situations, I would say that you will more than likely not get the true person, because right now people are not their normal selves. They're just kind of going through the motion and trying to figure stuff out. So I would say to rethink starting a new relationship right now. If you want to start a new relationship, I would say that new relationship should be a new relationship with yourself, because now you have time to sit with oneself and to be introspective, to learn new things about yourself. This is the perfect time to get to know who you are before you venture out to try to start a new relationship during this pandemic. That is just a little tidbit of advice, but you can move forward as you please. But this is a great time to just get to know who you are. Like, what makes you tick? What do you like to do? What are some of the things that you have put on hold? What is that book that you've been wanting to read that you have not had the chance to read, or you haven't had time to look at it? What about that movie? What about catching up with that series? What about engaging other people in the community in some way, giving back to the community in some way? And it doesn't have to be an extraordinary effort. Reach one, teach one. It could be someone in your family, particularly these young adults. And I'm speaking, in regards, because I know the person that just posed that question to me, that this is not a young adult. So using the time, if you're going to formulate new relationships, let's tighten up the relationships that we have already in existence with other people, if you want to go that route. If you want to form a new relationship in this pandemic as a single person, I'll say you need to form that new relationship with yourself. That's the best tidbit of advice that I'll have, because this is just not normal circumstances. So you're going to get wrapped up with someone that you don't know, and it's not going to be a normal situation. And then once the pandemic is over, then what you have, it may be Jack in the Box. I don't know, but we have to be cautious of that. How do you get along with a mate that you do not get along with? Really? Okay. Is it possible to get along with someone that you don't get along with? That's a rhetorical question. Is it possible to get along with someone that you don't get along with under normal circumstances? Is it possible to get along with someone that you normally don't get along with in normal circumstances under abnormal, stressful circumstances? I'm not going to answer that question, because even normal relationships that are good relationships are going bad just because of the amount of stress. If we reverse that and we take this beyond what we're experiencing right now, and we look at it in the context of normalcy, and just to say that this is a marriage, let's say it's a marriage of two individuals who haven't been getting along for whatever reasons it is. One, what I would suggest is that you seek counseling, because at that point, some form of communication broke down a long time ago before this COVID-19. So let's not try to put COVID-19 in the middle of your mess, because it has nothing to do with it. So if you have not gotten along with someone you can't get along with during this pandemic, it's going to be a tough one. I would advise, if you truly want to rekindle that relationship and you really want to move forward, because now we're having to depend on methods and depend on people and resources that we haven't had to depend on before, just to survive. So being cordial, being respectful, having boundaries are very, very important in the way of being able to get along with someone and to cohabitate with a person that you typically have not cohabitated with. But if you're speaking about trying to get along with someone in a false sense of, okay, let us rekindle and make this right under stressful situations, then it's probably not going to give you the true, what am I trying to say? Give you the true resolution that you're looking for, because these are not typical circumstances. So just to kind of rethink that, how do we keep our children uplifted and positive emotionally during this time? Excellent question. So I have to say that the core of my practice, I love working with my adolescents and my young adults. A lot of them, all of them for the most part, have had to come home from college. So now they're coming back to the parents' homes. They're not exercising their independence, like going out with their friends. They're now on campus. They don't have that break because trust me, the sessions are confidential, but just as the parents have a tough time with the kids have a tough time with a lot of parents too, and they need that break. And they also just need to be able to form who they are and to develop. So how do we support them emotionally, starting from a young age? And school is out. So having open communication. Do not allow them to have their phones all the time, because they're Googling stuff, they're on YouTube, they are listening to information that we as adults don't even understand, especially by this COVID-19. So it can potentially have devastating effects on them, as far as them having miscommunication of the information that's out there. So I would say, one, you communicate the information in a very simple fashion. A lot of times parents will go through divorces or go through things that affect the child, and they'll come to me and say, well, how can I say this to my kid to let them know that, we're okay, or this is happening with the family? And the first thing that I tell them is, one, I need you to process what's happening, number one, and have your emotion in check. And then once you have your emotion in check, then you can support your child emotionally through this tough time. If you are unsure of the information that you're going to give them, or your emotion is all over the place, or you're yelling and you're fussing and you're coming in the house very tense, you can't communicate effectively to that child, and you cannot support that child emotionally. So reaching out to resources, to different people, and having your own support system to emotionally support you before you communicate to your child is what you need to do first. So communicating with your child, that helps to emotionally support them. Trying to, as much as possible, integrate healthy social skills with the children. It is a normal part of development for children to socialize, particularly at a certain age. They need this for normal development. And right now, with the socialization being changed so abruptly, they are seeking ways to still connect with their friends. They're seeking ways through TikTok. They're doing their little dances. They are trying to get on FaceTime with different groups. Please, 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 I beg you to make sure that your child does not have a device or phone in their hands all day long. If you're concerned about their emotional state, I'm going to repeat, that phone that you have given them, they should not have that phone all day. That phone should be given to them only 1 to 2 hours at most each day. It should also not have a code on it, because you should have access to that phone, and you should look through that phone periodically to see who your child is texting, because right now they're desperate and they're wanting to be connected to other people, and you don't know who they're talking to on the other end of that phone. You have less control, even though you feel that you have more control. If your child is on social media, or if they have any type of phone, you're limiting your control over it, and the emotions that may come through that, such as cyberbullying and them being taunted due to wanting to look like, or I can't do this dance, or the savage, or whatever the challenge dance is on TikTok, and she's doing it better than me, or he's doing it better than me, or they're not inviting me into their group chat, can have devastating effects because they are so desperate. And so we have to understand that. So one, to go back to that question, we have to have our emotions in check first. That's number one. We have to be that rock as much as we can, because there's going to be times where we're going to want to close the bedroom door and just scream. And it's okay to let that out, because it is a lot. But you got to get yourself together and go communicate with the child. Continue to set those boundaries. That phone that they have, they should not have that phone all day. That phone should not be a babysitter. That Xbox should not be a babysitter. I know in a lot of homes, they're not hardcover books. There's not board games. Understandable. But there's a lot of other things that you can do with your child online, together, sitting there to spend that quality time. Not only that, but this is a great, great time to teach your kids how to cook. Survival skills, coping skills versus substance dependency. We'll get to that in 1 second. So as far as emotionally stabilizing a child, I'm going to stick with that for a moment, is being able to be emotionally stable yourself, communicating with that child, and allowing that child to express how they feel, and to be able to express how they feel emotionally, how they feel physically, you know, in a non-judgmental way, allowing them a safe space to talk about what is going on. And you should be honest with your kids and say, mommy doesn't know what's going on, but this is what we do know, and this is how we're going to move forward. Particularly now that school is not going to go back into session here in New York and in most states. That means that now we have to reprogram the kids to understand that it's going to be another 4 months before they may even be able to see their friends. When they do return to school, I've looked at some studies where they're spacing the desk out with certain tape, where kids are not going to even be allowed to have desks to sit close to each other. They're not going to be allowed to be around. So it's going to be very interesting how we're going to roll out this thing and to help them. But to just let them know, number one, that nothing that they have done is causing this to happen, that they are still a wonderful child, to continue to have them in contact in as many groups as possible. Physically, maybe not so much. I know sports is very difficult to do virtually, and I have family members that have kids that are involved in football and basketball, and that keeps the kids going, and it helps them emotionally to build up that self-esteem. And having those things right now where we have to totally stop them, we have to continue to find these creative ways for children to build their self-esteem and to move forward. So emotionally, that's what we have to look at. The communication aspect with the child, the building of their self-esteem, having a safe space for them to explore their emotions, and to let them know that it is okay to be afraid. We are afraid because this is something that no one has gone through before, but with the knowledge that we do have, this is what to expect. So a lot of times people will have anxiety because of the fear of the unknown. And that anticipatory anxiety is very, 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 very horrible thing to compound on top of someone that already has anxiety or depression or bipolar or whatever that they're dealing with. So there's a question about substance abuse. And so substance abuse versus substance dependency, I think that was the question, which is a little, I don't want to get too in depth into it because it's more of a medical understanding. At the end of the day, if you feel that you are drinking more, if you feel that you are smoking more cigarettes, if you're vaping more, if you are taking more pills that are prescribed, I'm going to repeat that because a lot of people feel that because the medication is prescribed that one is not addicted to it, but you could very well be addicted to it if you are using it outside of the scope in which it has been prescribed to you. Most of the times, the person that's the consumer of the alcohol, or they're using the drugs or the prescription medications to feel better, they don't notice. They don't notice it. It takes a family member or a friend to say, hey, I've noticed something a little different about you. Do you want to talk about it? It's up to that person a lot of times that they're not going to make that first leap to say, okay, I have a problem. Particularly right now, because we all have the same problem, which is COVID-19. So people are doing more of unhealthy things just to self-medicate to get through. However, when a person does have an issue with a substance, you need to reach out to a professional. You need to go to resources. And one of the resources that I share with my clients is through the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's NAMI. NAMI. So N as in Nancy, A as in Apple for Alliance, M as in mental, and I as illness. They have local branches throughout the United States. They have a national headquarters, and they have a website in which you can go there to read about different disorders, substance abuse, and also that SAMHSA, which is the federally regulated oversight of our substance abuse program here in the United States. People are, when you have anxiety and you have depression, particularly with anxiety, I'm going to go and talk about the use of opioids and pain medication. Pain is worsened when you are depressed. Pain is worsened when you're anxious. Pain is worsened when you're stressed. And especially when people are not having those movements and they're not going to the gym and they're not walking around and they're in the bed. Stay out the bed. if you have anyone that's in your home that is not bed bound, meaning that they do not have the ability to move their limbs, if you have anyone that's in your home and you see that they're spending more time in the bed outside of regular sleeping hours, I know that some people may be tuned into me that work, overnight, so their sleeping is not going to be overnight because they're at work, but your typical routine of sleep, if you see that individual in your home and they're spending more time in the bed, even if it's doing their schoolwork, if it's looking at TV, whatever, the bed is used for sleep time. So I want to touch a little bit upon sleeping. And I'm so sorry, I'm like zooming into the screen with my quarantine look, my hair and everything, but whatever. I'm giving you the information. We're going to get through this. And when the shops open back up, we're going to look back glammed up. But right now, I want to make sure that I am at least sharing the information that I have and helping someone out there today. So, again, it's my first time doing a live. And as we continue on throughout the month, hopefully I get better. I hope I'm not too bad. I hope that you guys are actually getting something out of this because I am actually enjoying this interaction. I really miss being in front of my clients. I really miss that interaction of helping the families and that sort. So I'm so happy that whoever has taken the time to join me right now, that you're joining me. And again, I'm Dr. Ingrid Montgomery, the Modern MD, located in Pearl River, New York, here in New York. And I'm just sharing, this is the first day to kick off the month of May, Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're going to groove this month. We're going to have music. We're going to have information. And we just want to reach one and teach one and just make sure that you know that you are not in this alone. You are not in this alone. And so if you have someone, again, that's just stuck in the bed and you know that they're not doing their normal routine, you have to check that person. Reality checking is very, very important. And again, the bed is to be used for sleeping or for, if you have a partner, for other type of enjoyment that adults do that morally and legally can do or whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but we're talking about sex. Outside of the bed, you should not be doing your corporate Zoom meetings in the bed. You should not just be stuck to the TV. And please don't look at the news all day. I want you to explore every dimension of your home, even if you're in a one-bedroom apartment or studio. There's 4 corners there that I need you to use throughout the day. Each 4 corners, and I do not need you to be in the bed all the time because that really disrupts the sleep-wake cycle. It also lends to pain because you're in one stationary position and the body tense, the muscles tense, the bones just kind of get really tight. And so you're going to have more pain. The more pain that you have, guess what? Those individuals who are on opioids or they're on the chronic pain relievers, you're going to use more of that. And we know the cause of chronic pain relievers, particularly opioids. It can be highly addictive and can lead to death, particularly because it decreases the respiration and you're already in the bed. You have to get up and you have to move. I want to explore and I want to talk a little bit about the COVID and some of the things that we can do. And I'm going to say, I extend my condolences to those who have lost loved ones. I extend my support to those who may have family members who are suffering from the virus, who may not have contact with those who are in the hospital, because you're in the hospital, they definitely are not allowing people to visit, that you have to develop a support system for yourself. I am thankful that I have not been personally affected with the virus myself, and I am very grateful because it does not discriminate. It doesn't matter what color you are, how much money you have, where you live. It does not discriminate. So I know that I brought in the piece of the geographical aspect regarding relationships and socialization, but I think we all should exercise universal precaution. Social distancing, even though some of the shops are open in some of these states, you still have to use common sense and precaution. So I say that to say that we all are in this together. And to keep ourselves very healthy, we have to think of the mind and the body is connected. So the emotions are off, then you make yourself more apt to develop ailments, increased pain because you're not moving around. The immune system plummets. I had someone to call me the other day, and they talked about being constipated. And constipation, bowel movements and urination, and we're talking, this is a platform, I'm a medical doctor, so I'm going to hit as many points, and I'm going to bring things to light that you may not normally think about. But when you reduce your movements, your physical movements, then the bowels they do not move as they normally should. The urination stops, and so you have toxins that are built up in your body, which makes you more susceptible to develop the virus, more susceptible to develop ailments. So we have to take care of ourselves mentally. We have to take care of ourselves physically. So that means, again, we have to try to limit what we're drinking as far as alcoholic beverages, even those sugary drinks. I know right now we just want to get our hand on a fix. And some of you know what that a fix is, just something to make us feel good for the moment, because it is tough. I have a son. He came to me. He's like, "What day is it?" I'm like, "It's Friday." He's like, "Oh, I thought it was Thursday." We are even disoriented in time. I never thought that I would say that this is kind of like a commonplace for us to be disoriented and not even understand the time. I mean, time of like what day of the week it is. It's just today, yesterday, tomorrow. So again, talking to our kids, I'm just going to recap a little bit. Talking to our kids, and if you definitely have more questions, you can send it to me. I want to address those things because we have full topics that we're going to hit throughout the month. Some of the information you're going to hear from me will be redundant because we'll have different listeners that will be tuning in. And I think out of fairness, repetition is one way to learn. So the things that you hear, the more that you hear it, the more that you believe it, the more that you believe it, the more you do it. So you will hear things that's going to kind of go circularly, but we're going to hit a lot of topics. So if you have the questions, if you have the concerns, we have talked a little bit about substance abuse. We've talked about domestic violence. We've hit on the short and the long-term effects of being in this quarantine. We've talked about sleep problems. I do want to go back to sleep problems though. We've talked about relationship issues, how to get along with someone that you don't get along with. So who we have? Is it true that some people have a built-in immunity to the virus? I don't know. And I think there's a lot of conflicting information out there regarding this virus. It is a novel coronavirus. This is one, novel means not have been around. So people are doing tons of research, and I don't want to touch upon anything that I don't know because no one really knows. They're doing a lot of testing. There's a lot of hypotheses out there, a lot of opinions that I'm going to be honest with you. If it's something I don't know, I'm going to tell you I do not know. I don't want to feed my opinion into this coronavirus. As far as medical advice, I'm just going to give you the facts related to overall wellness of the mind and the body. So I'm not too sure about that. Again, there's a lot of conflicting information regarding immunity to it. If a person has had it before, will they forever test positive? If a person has had it before, would they, once the virus is out of the system, will they be negative? How long is the immunity? Are we close to finding a vaccine? And I'm going to be truthful, no one knows. No one knows. And the people that do know, they have not shared it with myself and probably not you guys either. So I think that being overwhelmed with too many details is not a good idea, particularly when it's something that we cannot control. So being immune to something, immunity is based on either having it externally injected in you as in a vaccine, or you haven't had it and then you build up your own immunity. I don't know the specifics, but again, that is something beyond our control at this point. So yes, I've answered that. Great questions. So I don't want to just focus on the coronavirus. I want this month to be a platform and basically a plateau and a trajectory to continue the outreach and continue to reach people that otherwise would not have this information, that otherwise cannot afford to come to a psychiatrist, or their health insurance may not allow them to actually sit down with a provider, because these insurance companies also, it's about productivity. So these insurance companies are reimbursing certain providers based on the amount of time. And so a lot of providers want to see a lot of people to make up that volume and that amount of money. So a lot of times they don't have the time to sit and talk to you about different things as far as the mind and the body and those type of things. They want to get you in and get you out and see the next person. So hopefully the plan is to continue on so that we can have these conversations. You can reach us. There's a button there that you can contact us if we have any more questions via email, our phone number. We have a staff available. Try to answer most questions to the best of our abilities. If you want to set an appointment, we are also available. We do see adolescents starting at the age of 14. And my oldest client I have now is 89 years old, and she's very safe and happy and healthy. And so we look at the whole spectrum. So again, right now, our teens are suffering. They really and truly are. And I think that having those conversations with them and having those reality checks and just letting them know and feeling a sense of security within the home and within the relationship of a parent or a family member reaches far deeper than just one of these virtual relationships, because we know that those type of relationships, particularly right now, they're not really real, because it's just what people have to go on Facebook, and they have more time to post, and they have more time to engage and rekindle these relationships they've lost. But once things go back to normalcy and people begin to get back into their routines, those relationships may not be lasting. And then you have your teenager with a broken heart, or you have your teenager not being in real time with, well, did I do something? No, it's just a change of the time. So I think we have to really have those candid conversations with our teens and let them know, what's happening right now and basically what to expect. So we have been talking for about 45 minutes. Are there any other questions? I do want to just give you guys a layout of what to expect. I don't want to give any misleading information, so I would like to stay away from medical questions regarding the COVID-19, because it is just unclear evidence-based medicine. There's unclear research that has gone on, so I don't want to explore a lot of the scientific conflicting data about COVID-19. We can definitely talk about the symptoms, and I would tell you from my personal experience and my professional experience, even as a psychiatrist, I've had to triage a number of people who have called me with simple symptoms of a cough or a headache, and I have had to lead them to go to an urgent care and not wait until you get short of breath. When you're waiting, or you know someone that is struggling with short of breath, at that time, that's what we see people being admitted to hospitals and people being put on ventilators, and death is right there at the door. So if you're having, even if it's seasonal allergies, if you're sneezing, and I know they're saying, oh, sneezing has nothing to do with COVID-19. Well, to begin with, they said the coughing didn't. They said that headaches did. Now, as we go on, each day they're adding symptoms to the list. All that I'm saying is if you have any symptoms that are outside of the norm that could be related to any type of seasonal allergies, cough symptoms, digestive symptoms, whatever, you should go and seek medical care and not wait until you are short of breath. There's a number of things that happen with the COVID-19 before one experiences shortness of breath. There's a myriad of symptoms that occur before one reaches being short of breath. Once someone is short of breath, that is a late sign and not an early warning sign. So we want to pay attention to those early warning signs, and anything that seems off, I don't care what it is, you need to speak to someone about it. Nothing is silly at this time. I don't care even if your toe is hurting too long. Somebody needs to know about it. And a lot of people are not going to seek care because they're afraid, if I go to the VA, if I go to the ER, if I go to my primary care, I may get the virus that way. So let me just stay at home and tough it out and wait till this thing passes and then I'll go and seek treatment. Wrong. If something is happening with you, or someone that you see in your home, or someone that you're talking to, and they are voicing to you that they're feeling something that they normally have not felt, you need to get more information and encourage that individual to seek treatment, period, because we don't know. Each day, the symptom list of COVID-19 is growing. It's growing. First, it started with this one thing. Now it's this and that. And now it's if you have diarrhea. So again, if there's anything that you are experiencing or anyone that you know of that is outside of the norm of their functioning, they should have a professional to check them out. Just cover your face. Do exactly as they are leading us to do. There are markings wherever you go, 6 feet away. Some doctor's offices are allowing people to sit in their cars and they're calling them in one by one. Whatever, the systems are set up in place to protect, not to actually induce the virus on you. So you are experiencing something and by default you happen to have been exposed or you think that you've been exposed. Do not wait for a test. I'm going to repeat that. Do not wait for a COVID test. If you are experiencing anything that is abnormal and something that you are not used to experiencing, you have to communicate with someone that you trust and you have to go and seek medical care. Okay? So we're going to wrap up. I look forward to our next live. I'm very excited that you guys have tuned in. We have been talking. I've been talking for about 45 minutes now. And I hope that you have gleaned something from this. Again, my name is Dr. Ingrid Montgomery. I am a board-certified psychiatrist here in Pearl River, New York. I am affiliated with Youthscape Rejuvenation, which is an alternative medicine and therapeutic spa where we focus on whole wellness of the mind and body. There's a lot of fear associated with going to healthcare facilities during this time. Yes, exactly, it is. And a lot of healthcare facilities, as I mentioned, are closed. Our office is closed. We're only doing virtual appointments right now, so that means the telehealth and telepsychiatry appointments are available. If you have someone that is suffering from any type of dysfunction, and again, I want people to understand where we go wrong a lot of times, and I'm going to speak because I can, and I think that I have the right to. Certain cultures, we wait, and certain gender, like men, wait until it's too late, to seek help with anything. Please, we have to be more vigilant about what's happening with ourselves, with our bodies. If there's anything that you feel is not functioning the way that it once has functioned, you have to pay attention to that. You have to, and I'm not saying that you have COVID-19, but because you're under such extreme physical stress and emotional stress, that the body will react in different ways, and you need to seek treatment and be attuned with your body. I'm going to go back to a question about forming a new relationship. It's a question that someone posed early on. Should I get into a new relationship at this time? And I'm going to revisit that. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. Yes, you should. And that new relationship should begin with you, not with another person. It is to get to know who you are, to be in tune with your body, and to work on your mentation, and to work on whatever grounds you spiritually, whatever grounds you as far as the energy that keeps you motivated, to keep you determined, to keep you moving forward, to keep you healthy. You need to redefine that. You need to cultivate that, and you need to pay attention to that. That in itself is the most valuable relationship on earth, and that's called introspection. So having a relationship with oneself, getting to know your body, getting to know your needs, getting to know your deficits, this is a great time to pay attention to it. Is it going to be all easy? No, because we don't want to pay attention to things that are not right with ourselves. No one wants to look at that, and it's not easy to just say, oh, I am this or I'm not this. But it's time to cultivate that and to redefine that relationship with yourself, and to try to love, or if you've lost love for yourself, to regain that love for yourself, so that we all can get through this. And as you love yourself, you're going to treat yourself better. You're going to expect better things for yourself. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be wiser. And we're going to get through this. And the tools that we're learning right now are tools that we can use and should use for the rest of our lives. I fear going back to work and catching the virus again. I dread going back next week. My sentiment to you. And first off, I want to thank you as being a frontline worker. and as a frontline worker with a very vulnerable population of people who don't understand the virus, puts you at double jeopardy, particularly when you don't feel that you have the support of the employer in some instances. But you cannot operate in fear. If you operate in fear, then you're not operable for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. So you really are not going to be able to operate at work. So what I would say, if you do have some time, you said going back to work next week, so I'm going to assume that you have the weekend off. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. We're not expecting any rain if you're here in New York. I don't know what the weather's forecast elsewhere. But taking a pause from thinking about next week, being mindful and being in the moment of what can I do right now to savor this moment in time, to make myself feel good about who I am, to make myself know that I am well mentally and physically. Let me try to do some exercises. Let me try to do some meditation, some type of yoga stretching. Let me go out and get some vitamin D. Having to go back into the workplace where you're faced with being affected by the virus or being contaminated by something that can physically hurt you is scary. So I'm not going to minimize that at all. It is very scary. However, you have to train your mind to know that this is something that you've chosen to do or something that you have to do. And then you're going to have to prepare yourself mentally as much as you can. And again, we are available if you need the extra support emotionally. You need the support of how to get through day to day. We can talk about specific coping skills to help, particularly the frontline workers, because it is not easy to put your life on the line and to say, I give up a part of me to go into a workplace where I could potentially lose my life. It's not easy, and it is real. But I would say to garner up on the protective equipment that you have. Use common sense. If you need to take time off, don't wait until you get sick. But if you feel that you mentally need to take time off, take time off. If it is allowable from your employer, if you feel that your job is causing you a lot of anxiety, seek help. Go and see your doctor. Get a note from your doctor to support what your limitations may be as far as your ability to go to work. Because you have to be in a state of mental operations in order to be able to fluidly to get through your 8-hour shift. Again, we've heard of the ER doctor who has seen the repeated deaths and the changes that occurred, and she got affected and infected by the virus, and she took her own life. That is not what we want. That's not what we want. And there are certain parameters that are in place to help you where you don't get to that point. And so that is why I am taking the time right now to talk about that. So if you're afraid of going to work next week, let's stay in the moment. We have Friday night, we have Saturday, and we have Sunday. I know a lot of times when you're having to go back to work on Monday, Sunday night is like, oh my God, I got 6 more hours until this Monday morning and I got to go back into this place. But stay within the moment and know that a lot of people, and I'm not minimizing the work that you have to do, but a lot of people don't have a job. And they have to stay home unemployed with the virus or taking care of a loved one with the virus. So I would assume right now that you are employed, you are healthy without the virus. However, your risk is real. So having a kernel and grabbing onto gratitude and having those reality checks of being in the here and now is what's going to help you through those 8 hours. If you need to take time off, if it's within the range of your employer, say that you need a mental health day and take the time for yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you cannot take care of patients that need you, particularly those patients who are physically ill and mentally ill. Okay? So I'm going to be posting the next live We're going to incorporate music. We're going to incorporate art. We're going to incorporate things of like cooking, self-massages, acupuncture, all of these things that you can definitely benefit from virtually, and trying to develop these exercises. As far as acupuncture, you can't really do acupuncture. You have to be trained to do that. But understanding how you can exchange, particularly if you have a partner, you can exchange a massage, a touch, something to just relieve that stress. And we're going to teach, and we're going to have specific lives for couples. And I just want you to just utilize the resources that you have right now just to get through tonight. Because the people are struggling, and the struggle is so real that people don't even see how they're going to make it to Sunday because the bills are piling up, or they're in a house with 2 and 3 people that they have to take care of that are COVID positive. They have kids, that they're trying to protect from not getting the disease. So it's a lot of real stresses that are there. So I want you to just take the time and also just look for our notifications. We are also on YouTube. Please subscribe to The Modern MD on YouTube. We have Instagram. We're trying to do every platform. We also have TikTok now for the adolescents to put up those inspirational messages for them because they are struggling. Just imagine putting yourself in the place of being a teenager right now. As an adult, we're struggling with the information. So understand that the teenagers, and particularly the children, they are greatly impacted by this, but we have to continue to be parents. We have to continue to be role models. We have to continue to be their support. But first, the support starts with us. I am here for you, and I want to support each and every person who's taken the time out to join me in this live, because you could be doing your virtual wine tasting, you could be doing your virtual ladies night, you could be shopping, you could be on Amazon, you could be doing whatever, but you've taken the time out to trust that I'm going to give you something to help you. And I want to say that I hope that I have helped someone. Please drop comments, share this, invite others. We plan to do this a lot of times. I think the next live I may do, maybe it will be Sunday, just to garner up and help people to get back to work on Monday. But we're going to do them a few times a week. So again, this is my first live. I am completely open to constructive criticism. Now, please, y'all don't get under my comments and start blasting me out. I already told you I got the quarantine hair going, and I'm struggling right now. Nails off, but this is me, and I'm here to help. And I'm just going to keep it real 100%. It's a struggle for all of us. It really is. And we have to come up, and we have to build a support system. And we have to maintain that support system even through this pandemic, because the information, the exercises, the coping skills, the tools that you will learn will be long lasting for you, that you can share with your children, your grandchildren, with your spouse. And we can continue to build as a society, to build as a community, to build as a culture, to build as individuals. And that's what it's all about. So again, I thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to our next live. So share this, comment, give feedback. Please, if you like to tell me other topics that you want to explore, I'll be more than happy to do that. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I am Dr. Ingrid L. Montgomery, board certified psychiatrist. I'm affiliated with Youthscape Rejuvenation. We're located in Pearl River, New York. The number is 845-502-6472. Again, 845-502-6472. You can reach us by email, info@montgomerypsych.org, short for psychiatry. And we will respond to your emails. If you feel that you need additional support, we are available virtually by our telehealth and telepsych appointments. And we are waiting to hear from you. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Have a good weekend. I look forward to the next live. Lots of questions, please. Lots of questions. I love it. I love you to think about it, because it allows you to think about yourself and how you are fitting in to society. And that's what growth is all about. So we're going to move forward with motivation, determination, positive mentality. Again, music is my life. I'm a musician, so it's maybe times where we may just do a live and I may just decide to just start singing a song. Because music definitely uplifts energy. It exudes a language of different languages of individuals, and it's a connection. It's a definite common thread that each and every person can benefit from. So I thank you for joining me again, and I look forward to the next live, okay? You guys have a good night, all right? Bye-bye.